This is Behind the Curtain IMO. I'm Betsy Jordan. We know what happened January 6th. We know what happened. 5 people died. Capitol Police who were defending the Constitution were beaten, badly beaten, with the threat of losing their life. And they're going to protect the Constitution again. So when you hear threats to our republic, threats to democracy, we're taking them seriously, but also we want to send the strongest message to the world that the United States of America is still standing. And that takes a vote from every single person who can register to vote. Get out to the voting booth. Exercise your right, because honestly, your right is threatened. It's threatened by this little thing called Project 2025, okay? And that book, that big tome, is basically a manifesto. And it's a manifesto for the Republican Party, only it's a small section of the Republican Party that put this together. In that tome, you have restrictions of rights. You have the dissolution of the United States government. They're getting rid of civil servants. They're getting rid of the Department of Education. So they're saying education is only available if you do it in your own home or if you are going to invest in the schools that we build. But it does not answer the question of educating a populace, which is what our government has been doing. It weakens our nation. It weakens the bonds that join us. Okay? So the threats of, well, if I lose, I'm going to challenge this election. Those threats are real because we've seen it happen. We've seen it happen before. And if you look at that as a litmus test or a canary in a coal mine, what you're seeing is they're establishing parameters. They're going, okay, well, if we don't get it this time, we'll get it next time. But Project 2025 has a specific year in its title, 2025, where they define what a family looks like, where they basically define what an American citizen looks like, where white people dominate, basically. And basically, in our representation, white people do dominate, specifically white men. Now, lest you think that white men are not supporting the Harris-Walz ticket, let me disabuse you of that notion. Because these men who are strong and powerful in their positions, and some who are young and gamers and just hip to what's happening, they understand that their own influencers are influencing them against their country. Because they're saying that they're better for their pocketbook. No, the economy tanked because Trump panicked during COVID. He didn't respond to the people being driven away in refrigerated trucks. They were dying. Y'all don't remember that because the brain doesn't want to remember that. I mean, come on, it was disastrous. And the brain does not want to remember January 6th. They say there were no weapons. Well, a man was beaten with the American flag. Capitol Police officer beaten with a flagpole. So they will tell you there was an insurrection. There was a fomented insurrection against our government. We don't want to see that because we've been afforded the luxury of living in a very free world. But that very freedom is threatened by a handful of people who don't want you to have the rights to decide for yourself, who want you to have a king, who want you to have someone who dominates you. This is, do you want dominion or do you want freedom? That's the question. Do you want dominion or do you want freedom? So when you see threats to our country, that is traitorous talk. I don't care if the guardrails have been removed or not for our past president, very past president, that wants to stay in the past president. But Joe Biden has done what he can do to invest in a future of America. Is going to support, is going to be foundational for generations. We are beginning to see the effects of that. We're beginning to see the infrastructure being laid out. We're beginning to see an infrastructure that for the first time was put together by the opinions of the communities in which it was going to benefit. Some people needed bridges. Some people really needed broadband. Some people needed water systems. This investment, reinvestment in our country, has also meant a reduction in the national debt. We haven't given tax breaks. We're not giving tax breaks only to the wealthy, only to the top 1%. We're not doing that because you see, by doing that, there are people who are very wealthy in this country, and I understand this. They believe that they need to be making these decisions for everyone else. Because if they're running a company, then they do make those decisions for everyone else. However, a business is not the government. A business is not a democracy. A business is authoritarian in its hierarchy. So if you're not necessarily if you can be pro-business and also be supportive of those businesses growing and business growth. But to take a business structure and overlay it over an entire nation, that is a mistake, because not everybody's going to be qualified to work in this business. And if you're trying to run a nation, a country that is designed to serve all the people, then what you want to do is encourage that growth, but find ways of building communities and ways of educating the populace and ways of protecting the populace that have to do with being run by a government that is for all the people. Now, I want to talk to you about the Electoral College in one of the next videos, but that is a long-term game plan. So it's not an immediate thought, okay? So this is Behind the Curtain IMO, and this was a pretty long one. So I appreciate you being here so much.